Hello, I'm Laura. Welcome to the sewing room, and I'm here to talk to you today about how a simple pencil, or sometimes a pair of pencils, can help you sew tricky seams. In a recent video, I talked about not sticking your hands, or more specifically your fingers, too close to the needle on your sewing machine. But sometimes you do really need to get into a tricky corner, or maybe something's not laying flat and you need a little help. So a pencil can be a good solution. Some people like to use stilettos, not the shoe, not the knife, but actual tailor's stilettos. There are some very beautiful ones out there that are just incredibly lovely and wonderful to work with. I don't have one. Lisa has one, but outside of that, there are some other solutions that are very easy to get a hold of. I want to show you something really quickly that is not appropriate for this use, and this is actually an awl. I do love this awl. It's really nice. It's razor sharp, which is part of why I like it, but an awl is not a replacement for a stiletto. It is extremely sharp and it's meant to cut fabrics, so you don't want to use it for that purpose. Another option, and there are many out there, this is, I believe, that purple Thang, and it has many uses, but I typically use it as a replacement for stilettos. But the best tool is always a tool that you have, and I'm very rarely without at least one good solid pencil with a good solid eraser, and I'll show you how that works. Alright, so one time you might want a little more control over exactly what's going on right at the needle area is when you are adding a gathered piece to a non-gathered piece. Also, I find this happens with curved seams. I'll often really feel the need to kind of get in there. So I'm going to start the seam, hanging on to those thread tails. There we go. And if I want, I don't have this pinned. I could have this pinned. I don't use a lot of pins, but I can keep my left hand back here, keeping control of this part of the seam. But then I can use my pencil or my stiletto or my anything really to kind of do last minute gather adjustments. So that's kind of nice. But then also, as it's going through, really keep control of that area. I'm still letting the feed dogs do the work. I'm going slowly so I can really keep an eye on things. But whenever I notice that I'm putting my finger here, that is the moment I think maybe I actually want one pencil on one side of the seam and one pencil on the other side of the seam. So then, it takes a little practice to get really comfortable with it, but it gives me the ability to really manipulate what's going on as close to the needle as I like. Just like any other method, this does get easier with practice, and the advantages of using a tool to guide the fine points of your work through the machine, especially working very close to the needle, is that it protects your fingers, but it also protects the machine. If you're using a stiletto or a stiletto-like object, like a pencil or like that purple thing, then if you did accidentally strike that thing with the needle, there's very low risk of damage to the machine, or I would say less risk of damage to the machine. I can't say quite the same for a metal stiletto, but people who use metal stilettos swear by them, and I suppose a needle strike is less likely when you have a more precise instrument. In any case, all about safety for you first, and then also safety for the machine. Always practice the technique until you're comfortable with it before you use it at full speed. But those are just kind of my 2 cents, and especially for beginning sewers, something like this can function as both a safety device training wheel, and also a good way to improve your sewing experience and the quality of your sewing in the long run. If you're able to sew precisely, you're always going to have a better product and be happier with what you've sewn, and who doesn't want that? I hope this is useful to you. I really do try to be as useful as possible. I really love doing these videos, and I'm so happy to see so many new faces, so to speak, in the follower list. But if you've been here a long time, so happy to have you back. If you're new here, welcome. Please remember to like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything coming up.